To get started, we'll apply a generous amount of water to his head, as this will drastically improve your sectioning skills and will also help you to manipulate the hair. A sneaky tactic to further improve your sectioning dexterity: apply some tonic or even a salt spray at the start of the haircut. This will give the hair some extra condition, helping to level you up to a sectioning god. Moving on to our head map, we're entering the head with a centre profile line. We'll then follow this up with 2 radial lines from the centre of the crown to behind each ear. This separates the head into 2 zones, the front and the back. Now placing our comb at the side of the head, we're finding where the head starts to naturally curve and taking our next section from our radial line to the temple. Complete this for both sides, separating the sides from the rest of the haircut. We're now left with the top section, which will also clip away for later. At the back of the head, take a centre line down to the occipital bone to find the middle of the head. We're now taking the line from our horizontal section down to the occipital bone and repeating this for the other side, thus creating a triangular section which isolates the crown. What we should be left with are 5 panels. We've got the top, the 2 sides, the back, and lastly the triangular section. Grab those scissors of yours, it's time for some snippy action. Starting at the back of the head, as this is the largest portion of our haircut, we're now taking a centre profile section, and this section shouldn't be any wider than the width of your comb. See that right there? That will do lovely. Grab the hair and comb through from root to tip with good tension and a firm grip. Decide how short you want the hair and cut your first guide. The next section will run parallel to your previous, only this time you're halving your original section and scooping this up into your new panel, so that you can use this guide as a reference. As we move on to our third section, we're starting to over-direct into our previous panel. This is because we want to create a little bit more weight towards the corner of our shape. That means that section 3 should be pulled into your previous section. We're now going to repeat the same tactic for panel 4 and 5, each time over-directing into the previously cut panel. Repeat this for the left back section before we move on to our cross and balance check. What a fantastic job we're doing so far. Let's give it a little check, see if we're accurate. Take horizontal sections from the bottom to the top of our shape and remove any bumps or inconsistencies you might come across. Don't worry if you can see mistakes, we're all human, it's not perfect every time. Unless, of course, one of these blokes are cutting your hair. In all seriousness, if you're not already, then give these chaps a follow. They're light years ahead of the game, and if you wanted some creative inspiration, these are the boys to enlighten your soul. Enough chit chat, let's get back in the game. Moving on to our side panel, we're taking our last cut back panel, number 5, and we're over directing this into our side panel just behind the ear. We're not looking to exaggerate this too much, just pull the section about a comb's width into the side panel, find your guide and carry this on through. Each section we take now will be parallel to the head, with no other direction until we reach the temple. You'll mirror your previous section on the other side before moving on to the connecting layer at the back of the head, which will be the triangular section. Right, are you still with me? I know, it's a lot to take in, but we're smashing it. Let's crack on. Release that triangular bad boy into the rest of the back section and take a new centre profile line. Find your shortest point from your previously cut panel below and connect your shape. We're not getting creative here, we're simply cutting in a square line straight up from the previous guide. Following the same tactics as before, we're taking each subsequent section and pulling it into our last, creating over direction, which is building more weight at the corners of our shape. Repeat this left and right of your centre section, give it a quick cross check, and then we're moving on to the perimeter. Whip out the K-show or feather blade you're most fond of, and pull the hair down with good tension at 0 degrees elevation. Following the natural curvature of the head, we're razoring to the desired length for a choppy textured finish. Starting at the centre of the head and then working left and right of our line. By starting at the centre, we're able to create a bit of a guide to then follow up both sides of the head. This helps create a nice balance and saves us going off course. We don't want to be giving Seth a wonky edge up. Taking our scissors, we're now following the same line and cleaning up any stray hairs with a point cutting technique. We're not removing any hair here, we're just refining our cut. Finally, move on to our trimmers, lift the hair up and clean any neck hair and fluff from underneath the shape. This will give our cut a nice clean finish without any stray hairs sticking out from underneath our scissor work. Re-wet the hair and move on to the external shape. The external shape is what we can pull from the internal layer to the extremities. We need this to match our scissor cut underneath to give us a nice balanced look at the end result. So take a centre line from the crown to the front of the head and split the hair into 2 cutting zones. Comb the hair out from root to tip with good tension, place your comb underneath and find your previous cut guide. Using a Keisho razor to give it rough texture, razor the hair until it matches the length of the layer underneath. Repeat this for both sides, then move on to the fringe. At the fringe, we're working at the very middle peak where we've previously cut our external shape. We've automatically cut the recession points of our fringe, we now need to balance the middle. The fringe should look somewhat pointy with a build-up of length in the middle. All we're doing here is balancing it out so it sits in line with the recession areas. This will give the fringe a nice full appearance. As we move to the top, we'll re-wet the hair and take a centre profile section again no wider than the width of our comb. We're now going to start our layer from the front of the hairline and work our way back to the crown using a point cut method. We're cutting Steph's hair with a square shape, so we're making sure we're following a straight vertical line and not to follow the curvature of the head. This is because we want to retain weight, so we've got some nice curl to play with at the end of the haircut. That's the vertical guide cut. We'll now start to take horizontal sections up the head, starting at the back. To do this, we'll split the hair into 2 zones, left and right. Take a centre line from the crown to the frontal area, split the hair in 2. It's important to work neat so that we have absolute clarity when it comes to finding our guides. Take a clean horizontal section, pull the hair up to the top of the head with good tension in a straight line. You'll find your guide at the centre of the head and you'll cut this to match the shortest point. Follow these horizontal sections down to the front of the hairline before moving on to the next cutting zone. Repeat this process for the second side and finally check the balance of the haircut by roughing it up and checking the length and density. You've done it, that's the cut complete. Wasn't so hard, was it? We're now going to chuck a little satin through Steph's barnet. I've opted for Uppercut Deluxe Matte Pomade. I've chosen this bad boy because it goes into the damp hair nice and wet, allowing us to really manoeuvre and manipulate the hair. The uppercut also dries fairly sticky but with a natural finish. This will give us a much needed hold because we live in England, it's a dark October and the weather out there is absolutely butters. Moving on to our blow dry, we're grabbing our blowy tool and giving Steph a rather lovely head massage with a diffuser. Your hairdryer wants to be on a low speed, medium heat setting with a diffuser attached. We'll then scrunch the hair up with our hands and place the hairdryer nice and close to the head. This will allow us to dry the hair from root to tip. Normally when drying curls, you'll want to leave the hair at about 20% dampness, but with Steph's hair, we like a nice, bouncy, voluminous look for a shaggy, messy style. Once the hair's dry, we can add a touch more product just to defrizz and retexture the hair. Can you believe it? We've turned Steph from a 6 to a strong 6.5. Steph's got a shaggy chic, sick looking barnet and is looking like a proper, pretty princess. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a look at some more tutorials just over here. Catch you in a bit.